Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
I, male, 31, recently got engaged to my girlfriend Beth, female, 28, after a roller coaster romance. We had a little meet cute at the local Starbucks where she works as a barista. After dating for around 6 months, she proposed to me. Unconventional as it was, it seemed like the right thing, and I said yes. I think a part of me knows that Beth is excited to get married, and maybe she wanted to settle down with someone, and that prompted the early proposal. However, that ain't no trouble to me, as she has been a great partner so far. We got the blessing of her parents and mine, and the wedding was due to happen in February this year. But it all went to hell at our wedding party, and I'm in a really bad place right now. Before I get into that, though, I think it's important to discuss Beth's family setup. When I was introduced to the family, I met her parents, her sister, and a little kid named Tyler who lived with her parents. Tyler is probably like 6 years old, so it was logical to me that he wasn't my soon to be in law's kid. But I felt too awkward to ask too many questions. When we had some privacy, I asked Beth about it, and I could tell that I had stumbled upon a taboo family secret. She told me that Tyler was her sister Laura's child from a drunken one-night stand 6 years ago. Laura decided to keep the child, and although the family supported her decision, they also began to worry about her and the kid after his birth. It seems that Laura was really irresponsible and not ready to raise a kid at the age of 22. And her apartment was terrible for raising a child. After the first year of parenthood as well, Laura really dropped the ball and began smoking pot, going out to parties without finding proper babysitters for her kid, and a lot of other stuff bordering on abuse. Even worse, she wasn't really able to afford a kid, and oftentimes Tyler would go without good clothes or toys. And Laura was basically planning on homeschooling the kid to not pay for an education. Her parents and Beth decided to step in and intervene, taking her to court and calling CPS. Eventually, the court ruled to transfer custody to the parents, and Laura was left without access to her kid. I won't lie, I was completely blindsided by this, since my first impression of Laura was that of an extremely professional and reasonable woman. I mean, she worked as an accountant, for God's sake, and for a lack of a better word, was a little boring, safe and boring. But I guess the past can be crazy, huh? Although Laura had sobered up and fixed up her act, Bev said her parents still didn't trust her with custody of her kid and wanted her to marry or settle down with a lot of money before they would even consider giving Tyler back to her. After telling me this whole story, Beth made me promise to not bring it up in front of Laura or her parents. What the official story was, i.e., what her parents told me, is that Tyler was the child of an aunt who had passed away, and hence stayed with Beth's parents. Wild, right? But I didn't want to mess anything up in this very, very tense equation, so I played dumb about Tyler and Laura. Apart from that, her parents and sisters seemed like really nice people. Back to the wedding. We were going to have it at an estate out in Aspen, and Beth had taken charge of making it seem like a lavish, mature affair. I won't lie, the bills for catering, decor, and everything else combined did make my head spin, but I mean, we could foot the bill easily. Besides, my parents had also offered to chip in a little. Surprisingly, Beth's parents did not, and I did find that a little weird, but I didn't question it. Another weird part about this wedding was how open Beth was to having a wedding where kids were allowed. I won't lie, I wasn't too keen on having kids around when I wanted to get a little tipsy or where adults were hanging out. But Beth argued fiercely with me about it. When I pushed her on it, she said that her sister wasn't willing to come unless Tyler was allowed to come too. Yikes. That old family secret was rearing its head again. Not wanting to argue, I agreed to it, and the wedding was on. We traveled to Aspen and settled in at the hotel with all our guests. Our rehearsal dinner was organized in the banquet hall in the hotel, and my fiancé and I were looking forward to having a good time. However, Beth did seem a little cagey, so I ordered a bottle of wine to be sent up to the room. We could relax, drink the wine, and show up fashionably late. At least that was my suggestion. Beth, though, had other plans. God knows how nervous she was, but this girl downed that whole bottle of wine basically by herself and was visibly drunk. I was a little worried about her after this, but she insisted on going down to the rehearsal dinner. It started amazingly well, and all my friends and family congratulated Beth on the amazing planning she had put into the wedding. I saw my future in-laws there too, and they were staring at the decorations with what seemed like full-on scrutiny. Dang. Hey, their little girl was getting married, so maybe they wanted to ensure I had the dough to pull this off. I walked up to my father-in-law-to-be and asked him whether everything was up to his standards, and he said, "Oh, this is great, OP, much better than planned. How are you taking things with the guests?" A little confused by his reaction, I said that I was having tons of fun. Mother-in-law also joined the conversation at this point and asked me a lot of questions about Tyler and my relationship with him. Even more confused now, I just told her that I liked the kid. I mean, what else could I say, LOL? She seemed a little crestfallen, but her husband nudged her a bit. He could probably tell that I felt awkward, and they went off to the party. At that moment, I suddenly heard a commotion, and Beth was up on a table, obviously hammered. Then she began speaking, and what I heard sent alarm bells ringing in my head. Hey everyone, thank you all for being here. I just want to say that this day is one of the happiest days of my life. Woohoo! I'm getting myself a good husband, a rich husband, and my little Tyler's going to come back to me. I feel like myself again. After 5 years without my baby, I'm glad everyone could be here for this. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my in-laws looking on smugly and smiling as they watched me. But their smile slowly faded when they saw how pissed off I was. I walked over to them and asked Laura to follow me as well. Pulling all three to a corner, I asked them, "Hey, what the hell is going on?" To my shock, everyone is pissed at me, and Laura says that I should have gone up there and celebrated with Beth. After speaking to them, I figured out what was going on. Tyler was Beth's kid, and she had fooled both me and her family. She told me that Tyler was Laura's kid, and to her family. She had made it seem like I was fully aware of her situation and was okay with it. Everything she had told me had happened to Laura had happened to her. I had no idea how she had managed to pull this off, but a lot of things started making sense. She proposed early to lock me into the marriage. She had a lavish wedding to convince her parents that she was emotionally and financially well off, and obviously she wanted Tyler, her own kid, at the wedding. I didn't want to deal with any of this, and I said to the family, "You all are messed up in the head, man. I can't believe you would have been okay with this. Unless Beth got hammered, I'd have to waste my time in a messy divorce or live with a kid who isn't even mine. Wow. Just wow." I then turned tail and went straight to the hotel, packed my things, and took the first flight out of there. On the day of the wedding, everyone from my side of the guest list was calling and asking me where I'd run off to. As Beth had sobered up and worked with her family to make up some sob story about me getting cold feet. I wasn't holding back and simply telling them the truth, and it led to a massive stink back at the hotel. Everyone ganged up on Beth's family and called them psychos and left after hurling insults at them. I had reached home by this point, and I texted Beth to pack her things and leave. I wasn't ready for this amount of crazy to be in my life. I got a response from her that said that she'd been calling Tyler that I was going to be his new father, and I had broken his heart, and that made me pause for a second. I mean, Beth and her family could go to hell, but the kid was pretty much blameless. I know I won't marry her again, but should I establish contact again just to make sure the poor kid doesn't have any lasting harm from this? AITA if I don't? Update 1. I did call Beth again, and I admit I did this without reading the comments, and I immediately regretted it. She was screaming my ears off, and she told me that her parents were furious at her. Laura also reached out to me and apologized profusely for all the confusion and heartbreak I have been through, and I really appreciated that. She said her parents also felt bad about it, but were too embarrassed to reach out to me. So, I mean, I guess I should at least bury the hatchet with her family. Update 2. After Beth came back, she moved out of my house without saying a word. I don't even know how she did the mental gymnastics to make me out to be the bad guy here, but that's apparently how she feels. I have been talking to Laura about this whole issue because, to be honest, she's the only one who relates. It's just too crazy to discuss with anyone else. Her parents are also really toxic, and apparently they were getting a little tired of raising Tyler, which is just a terrible thing to hear. So they were kind of banking on this wedding going through. Ever since it didn't, Beth and her parents have been at each other's throats. And Tyler's caught in the crossfire. After all of this, I feel like I need a detox from relationships. Ugh. Update 3. Eek, this bitch Beth literally broke into my house while I was gone, and I found some pot planted in my bedside drawer. The cops showed up a while later, called by her, saying they suspected me of drug use. Thankfully, I have a good lawyer and posted bail, and my home security system shows her doing all of this. I can't even believe it, but I had to spend a day in jail because of her. It's clear she's not fit to raise a kid even if we got married. Update 4. Laura called me after the court case with Beth and said that she had taken custody of Tyler and gone LC with her family. I won't lie, it puts me a little at ease too. Although I don't know the kid, nobody deserves to live in such a broken home. NTA, Beth is stupid. LOL. I have no idea how she was going to string both you and her family along like this. Edit. Just read your updates. Not only is she stupid, but she's also crazy too. NTA, and props to Laura for being the only sane one in their family. I hope Tyler grows up in a better household from now on. Next story. I, 26, female, and my boyfriend Mike, 27, male, have been together for 4 years and living together for 2 of those years. Backstory. Mike, his sister Kate, 26, female, and mom, 51, female, unfortunately lost their dad to a car crash 6 years ago. It was very hard for them. Mike and his mom channeled their grief with working out, and his sister channeled her grief with eating. Before you think I'm being rude, his sister is way over 400 pounds. She has health issues and trouble walking long periods. When we try to help her, she tells us we are exaggerating and trying to project our own insecurities onto her. I've always been on the thinner side, wearing extra small clothing. I work out, eat healthily, but of course have plenty of cheat days. I would also like to mention Mike's mom will sometimes borrow my sweatshirts, and one day, when I came home from work, a month ago, Kate was in our room with a pile of ripped clothes next to her. She said since I'm letting her mom borrow clothes, I had to do the same for her. She only borrows my sweatshirts. I was upset she came over unannounced and ruined my clothing. She told me the clothing was poor quality and she wasn't the reason they ripped. I told her she wasn't allowed to borrow my clothes and couldn't just come over whenever. She was mad for a few days, but eventually got over it and things got back to normal. My best friend is getting married in a week in Hawaii. Mike and I are going early and we leave for Hawaii in 3 days. Last night we had Kate and his mom over for dinner. Everything was going great and Kate excused herself to the bathroom. She was gone for a while, so I decided to go and check on her. I found her in our room, holding my bridesmaid dress that was ripped in half. When she saw me, she said, I really need to stop buying such poor quality clothing. I was so mad. The wedding was in a week and my dress was ruined. I looked at her and started yelling. I told her we weren't the same size and to stop thinking we are, and that she needs to realize she's not healthy and needs help. She started crying, pushed past me, and drove home. Mike and his mom heard everything and told me I had every right to be upset and that what she did was not okay. The next morning, I got a ton of calls and texts from Mike and Kate's grandparents and their aunts. Dad's parents and sisters, telling me I'm a complete AH for yelling at Kate and making her cry. They told me I'm an insecure brat, and it's a good thing their dad wasn't with us anymore because he would be ashamed Mike was with me. I was hurt. I always wished I could meet him and never expected to hear that from his family. I'm now starting to think I'm the AH for yelling at Kate, so Reddit, AITA? Edit. Wow, guys, thank you so much for all the comments. I'm trying to get through them, but I did think I should clarify some things. Mike and his mom are super supportive of me and my reaction. They both have reached out to explain what happened, but are being shunned and told off for not agreeing with Kate. Mike now has most of them blocked and refuses to see or talk to them until they apologize. I've seen a lot of comments about Kate likely just ripping my clothes. I'll be honest. I didn't see her actually trying my clothes and dress on. She told me she tried them on. She probably did just rip them and refuses to tell the truth. My friend is aware of the situation and we are both trying to find a replacement dress. Thankfully, I didn't have any alterations done, so we are just trying to find the same dress and color. I gave Kate the benefit of the doubt before because I care a lot about her. I shouldn't have let it slide and maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. Edit 2. After reading more comments, I will be taking photos and getting prices of all my clothing ruined and sending it to her. If she refuses to pay, I will take further action. Everyone telling me to do that is definitely making me feel better. I know I'll get hate from the family, but it needs to happen. I'm also trying to get Kate the help she needs. Any suggestions? She will not go willingly. Edit 3. I know people think this is fake. I wish it was. I can't force people to believe if they don't want to. Thank you to those who are giving great advice. I appreciate it. As of right now, nothing's changed. Still looking for a new dress and gathering everything up that she's ruined. When something major happens, I will update. Until then, thank you again. Final edit. All right. I'm sick and tired of people messaging me saying horrible things. I'm tired of it. I got Reddit for advice, not to be talked to like I'm a devil. Kate needs help. People suffer from eating disorders and body dysmorphia. She needs help, but instead people are saying it's fake. I'm done. Goodbye. NTA, Kate is 26, not 13. She knows your clothes aren't her size. I mean, I understand some people can have body dysmorphia, but she would have bought heaps of clothes and knows she's not an extra small. I don't know what her motivation for doing this is and don't want to speculate, but it's not okay for her to destroy all your clothes or even try them on without asking. I hope your boyfriend and his mother called up the grandparents and aunt and told them the whole story. They owe you an apology. NTA, you're almost a saint. If someone ruined me thinks like she did the first time, they'd never be allowed back in my house. I think Kate needs to see a therapist, though. She's clearly struggling with body issues to be destroying people's clothing like that. Hopefully you can do something about the dress. I would be upfront to the family that's reached out about what all she's destroyed and possibly even send them pictures if it's as significant of damage as it sounds. They may have only gotten part of the story. If they still think you're so awful, then I'd ignore their words. If anyone were thinking clearly, they'd be thinking Kate needs professional help at this point. Not necessarily to lose weight, but that's very abnormal behavior. NTA, even if you were the same size and the dress didn't rip, she still shouldn't try on your clothes without your permission. Also, you were not rude. You stated a fact as tactfully as possible. You didn't even call her fat. You just said you don't wear the same size, which is true. Also, she should be paying you back for every piece of clothing she ruined along with a huge, honest apology. I am fat. Not even close to 400 pounds, but still considered obese. First of all, I would have never tried on the clothes in the first place, but if I did, after the first one ripping, I'd have stopped trying clothes on while frantically trying to fix what I ripped. She is a huge AH and needs to understand it isn't about her size. It is about the destruction of your property. She is not the victim here. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.